What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Sniper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we begin our talks on the Drunken Master Monk, and this is a very unique take on the monk. There is definitely nothing else out there like it. But is it mechanically good? Well, we will just have to find that out today. But before we do, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, most people who watch the channel are not subscribed, so please don't be one of those people and go ahead and click that subscribe button. We are, of course, down in viewership since the OGL thing, and so please help us to get the word out there. And the best way, of course, to do that would be sharing the video with your friends, and of course clicking the bell so that you're notified when new videos are uploaded. So the Drunken Master, while this technically is a literal term, is also kind of a figurative term as well. Now, you could play this as someone who just is clumsy. You don't necessarily have to be drunk in order for this to be your thing. But either way, this does invoke a style of monk that you see in quite a bit of media, of the person who is just flowing and just moving around the battlefield effortlessly, dodging blows and taking out all kinds of enemies all by him or herself. I think it's a really, really cool visual, and I think it would really feel nice to be able to emulate that kind of a style. Does this subclass do that effectively? Let's find out. Starting off at 3rd level, we get 2 features. The first is bonus proficiencies. This gives us proficiency in the performance skill and in the brewer's supplies tool. Now, these are both very interesting as they do both play into the flavor that we are looking for here. The performance, of course, is going into the fact that our style is much more dance-like than it would be as really any other type of monk. It's much less structured, and so that kind of makes sense, right? And of course, brewer supplies, because Drunken Master, we are probably an alcoholic, or at least we feed other people's alcoholism, whatever you want to do. But like I said, you could also play this as just someone who is clumsy. You don't necessarily have to play this as someone who is drunk all the time. I think that you're really open to interpretation on something like this. As far as how good this is, it's not bad, right? It's a skill proficiency, although most of the time we probably aren't going to be speccing into charisma. And the tool proficiency is fine. I don't know that it's one of the better ones that I would really care about. It's much more of a ribbon feature. So overall, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. The skill proficiency is nice, and really that's what's carrying this ranking. The tool proficiency is kind of take it or leave it. It's just much more for the flavor. Also at level 3, we get Drunken Technique, and this is tied into our Flurry of Blows ability, just like what we talked about last week with Extract Aspects on the Cobalt Soul Monk. Of course, that is up in the icon above for you to look at. But with this ability, whenever we use our Flurry of Blows, we actually can disengage for free. And in addition to that, our walking speed is increased by 10 feet until the end of that turn. Now, this is actually pretty cool, and I really like the way that this works. Flurry of Blows is an amazing part of the monk kit, and we're going to be using it somewhat often. Having a free disengage can really put us in a nice position to not have to take a big attack and have to just stand there and be ready to eat whatever it is that's coming. So we can, of course, use our action to attack, then spend 1 key to Flurry of Blows, and then we get the additional Step of the Wind bonus of disengaging without an extra key cost, and we have a +10 to our movement speed. Our movement speed, of course, is going to be higher than probably any other character in your party, at least most of the time, barring magical items. And so this is going to make a pretty big difference as far as where you can go and what you can do. I really like this, actually, and I think this feature is quite good. I've got to give this a 8 out of 10. Saving you the key and building it into the Flurry of Blows is really nice. I would love to give it a higher score, but of course, key is a limited thing. We're not always going to have it, but we should have this most of the time, so I feel comfortable giving it that. At level 6, we get Tipsy Sway, and this gives us 2 different abilities. Number 1, we can actually stand up from prone with using only 5 feet of movement rather than half our move speed. And we also get Redirect Attack. When a creature misses us with a melee attack, we can spend 1 key as a reaction to cause that attack to hit another creature of our choice. Of course, this creature does have to be within 5 feet of us, and it also cannot be the same creature that is making the attack in the first place. So let's talk about this. On paper, this actually sounds quite good, right? We've got the leap to your feet where we can stand up from prone on 5 feet of movement. Now, this sounds awesome, and situationally it will be. However, I don't see this as something that you're going to use a lot. I don't really remember getting knocked prone all that much as a player. It doesn't happen a lot. Most of the time the things are getting knocked prone, it is players knocking other monsters prone. So it's not nearly as common for this to happen. So a little situational, but fine, I guess. Then with the redirect attack, again, we're looking at something situational here because we're assuming that there are more than one enemies within 5 feet of us, which is not good. We don't want to be in a situation like that. And so, yeah, if one makes an attack and misses you, you can make it hit another enemy. But both enemies need to be right there next to you. And so that's also not that good. Yeah, we're all limited by melee stuff here. And so that really makes this a little bit more difficult. So overall, neither of these are necessarily bad. They're just incredibly niche and situational and probably won't come up very often. So because of that, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. It's fine, but definitely could have been a lot more widely applicable with some different writing or even additional features. At level 11, we get Drunkard's Luck, and this feature allows you to actually cancel any kind of disadvantage on an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw at the cost of 2 key. Now, this is actually pretty cool, and I really like the ability to cancel this disadvantage. Of course, it makes sense for this type of character to get something like this, because the whole point is that this person is walking around drunk all the time and just happens to be really good at everything. That's where this comes in, right? And so I think that this is really, really cool. I think it's a worthy addition to this subclass and definitely helps it out. What do I rank this? I really think that this is up there at like an 8 out of 10. I think it's really nice. This is much more applicable than some of the other features that we've been talking about. And you will have disadvantage for a variety of reasons that you can freely cancel. And 2 key points is a little expensive, but to be able to cancel disadvantage honestly is worth it to me. And so I really think that this is something to use quite a bit. Finally, at level 17, we get Intoxicated Frenzy, and this allows you to make your flurry of blows a lot more potent situationally. So with this, whenever we are surrounded by enemies, we can actually use our flurry of blows to make 3 additional attacks with that. So that's awesome. 5 total attacks on our bonus action. However, each attack has to target a different creature. That is a huge caveat and takes this feature from like a 10 out of 10 to whatever it is that we're going to rank this. Yeah, this really, really shoots it in the foot. If you are completely surrounded and need to use this feature, you have bigger problems than popping every single one of these. Now, obviously this could be used to apply a lot of stuns. That's going to get really expensive on key, but it is possible. And it's really only going to be used on minions. I don't know that I really want to waste my time trying to set this up, trying to be surrounded and possibly taking a bunch of attacks just in order to use this feature. So I just don't think that this is going to come up very often, and you're just basically going to never have this feature. And that's your capstone feature for the subclass. That's really bad to not be able to use this at all. Overall, I'm going to give this a 4 out of 10. It's not good. I could honestly see going lower, but it will come up every blue moon, but otherwise you're just basically without a capstone. So where do we land on the Drunken Master Monk? This one's kind of all over the place, to be honest with you, and it makes it kind of difficult to find a good number to rank this at. We have the Drunken Technique, which is pretty good for mobility. And of course, you know, we would be using that quite often. However, when we get to level 6, we're looking at something very situational. When we look at level 17, we're looking at something very situational. Drunkard's Luck is pretty good, but of course it comes at a cost of 2 keys. So that's a little expensive, but not terrible, I guess. And so we've got some good, we've got some bad. Overall, man, I've got to give this a 6 out of 10. It's barely not good enough to me. Of course, 6 is the highest you can get while still failing as far as my ranking goes. And so we are going to have to fix this later. I just don't think that the way that this is implemented is done very well. And I really think that it could be done a lot better instead of me wanting to just take a different subclass. There are several that we haven't discussed yet on the channel that I could play into this style of monk, and it would just be better mechanically, and I could still probably get away with doing stuff like this. This subclass just needs to be better if it is going to be the primary method of emulating this type of a fighter. So that is it for our video today. Make sure that you have subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss our fix for this later this week. And we're doing a bit of an update video later this week as well. So again, make sure you don't miss that either. Until then, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.